Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Cricket with me and Devjeet. So today we're going to be talking about a wonderful story of some absolute underdogs in cricket, and it's a very interesting story because there are moments in cricket that feel that are too perfect to be true. A six to win the World Cup, a debut 100 at the Lords, last over finishes, and then there are moments that feel too unbelievable to actually be real.
You don't see these kinds of moments in the highlights reels these days because they happened so far away from the cameras, from the limelight. It happened on a random ground in front of a few hundred people, but it meant a world for the ones who were playing on that day.
Yeah, and this one's actually from the Under-19 World Cup. And this round of matches didn't feature India, Pakistan, or Australia. In fact, the top teams weren't even supposed to be there.
Yet on that day in Colombo, the world saw something really remarkable. A group of boys from the mountains stunned not one but two full member nations. Could you believe it?
Let's talk about Nepal in 2006.
So before we start, let's give a quick context and let's go into the background of what was happening in world at that time. The Under-19 World Cup in 2006 had started, and they had this special plate championship where teams that finished bottom of their groups, they didn't just go home. They entered a sort of a knockout round to compete for silverwares themselves. So what it did is it basically gave the smaller nations more exposure, which is fair play.
Absolutely fair play. These are teenagers, some of whom have never, will get to play another global event. So you want to give them as much exposure as possible, especially when you're trying to grow the game.
They actually did pretty well in this round of matches 4 years before this. They reached the plate final in 2002, but they lost out to Zimbabwe, who were a much stronger team at that time.
Yeah, and they were here again in 2006, back in the plate knockouts. But this time, the competition wasn't against associates, was it? It was actually against some solid sides.
South Africa and New Zealand, against all expectations, they both ended up in the plate section, which meant that Nepal potentially had to go through these two powerhouses to even get a chance to get their hands on the trophy. You would think that this is a very unlikely scenario at that point.
This is almost like not a Herculean task, this is a Himalayan task. It's like climbing the Everest twice.
Now the journey kind of starts. So the first knockout round is against Uganda. Now this is a straightforward win for them. They weren't too strong a side, and for Nepal it was easy to sort of overcome that hurdle. Then their next big test came in the plate semi-final. South Africa, a team stacked with talent, including Dean Elgar, Wayne Parnell, surely the overwhelming favorites for that tie.
So what happened?
I think they batted first. They got to 214, nothing outrageous, just a fighting total kind of keeps them afloat. But then they bowled like lions and they fielded even better. Like, there's one of the best fielding displays in the tournament. They fielded as if their lives depended on it.
Was it a close game?
South Africa needed just 3 runs of the last ball, so it went till the last ball, and they couldn't get it. They finished 2 runs short, and remarkably, they were only 5 wickets down. They just simply ran out of balls, which was rather bizarre. And Elgar was stranded at 66. So they were like set batsmen on the crease, but still they couldn't get to the total. And their captain, Kanishka Chaugai, he made it 59. And then Basant Regmi, who is now a cult figure in Nepal cricket, he had taken 3 for 41 in that chase.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That's not a fluke even. They've actually earned that.
They absolutely did, and it was one of the greatest upsets in under-19 cricket history.
And then came the final against New Zealand, and that wasn't any junior side. They had Martin Guptill, they had Tim Southee, Colin Munro, Todd Astle. Those were names to kind of reckon with in the Under-19 World Cup stage.
Future international core basically, and they posted 204, again a challenging total, and Basant again stepped up 3 wickets, including the one of Todd Astle.
And the chase?
Well, now comes the tricky part. This is the kind of thing that happens with smaller cricketing nations. So they have a sniff of victory, they start chasing, but they immediately collapse for 75 for 6. So you could feel it that history was slipping away from them, and it was another heartbreak that was loading.
Yeah, generally we see this a lot from smaller teams, right? One magical win and then the next one's a heartbreak.
Then came the twist. It sort of deviated from the usual script of underdog teams.
Let me guess, Regmi again?
Who else? He had already taken 3 with the ball, and now with the bat, it was his time to become a hero again. So he dug in, he played a composed inning, he paired up with Prem Chaudhary and added a bit of hope.
But it wasn't smooth though, right? As in, Prem fell with the target still quite a distance away. The super sub Shashi Kesari, they were I think 148 for 8, 57 runs still away, and just 2 wickets in hand.
Yeah, I think this was the period in cricket when super sub was a thing. So Shashi Kesari came in as a super sub. People expected him to sort of build on that partnership after the wicket of Prem fell, but he went out cheaply, and suddenly they are 8 wickets down and 57 runs to go. And this now seems a very impossible task. But cricket sort of has its own logic. So in walked Ratan Ronia, and he's the off spinner. He's number 10. He's not a batter by any stretch of imagination, but that day something special happened, and he became one.
Yeah, and he found a way, didn't he?
He and Regmi, they sort of started scrambling twos, running hard between the wickets. They started threading the gaps, and slowly and steadily the target sort of started getting reduced. And New Zealand, young side, they were starting to get panicked, and their fieldings got sloppy. Their shoulders kind of dropped, and Nepal found a small ray of hope.
Wow, with 4 overs to go.
Yep, and with 4 overs to go, they still had 34 to win. With 1 over left, now the target was just 9.
Woo, that's getting close. And then the final over?
So Regmi falls in the penultimate over. That is a big wicket. So he had scored a heroic 66. What a knock under pressure. But now it's 9 to win out the final over, 1 wicket in hand. Still, you would kind of give it to the heavyweights, New Zealand, to sort of keep their nerves and win it in the last over. But something again strange happened. So Ratan and Raj Shrestha, they are at this crease, the final pair. And yeah, this is like pure theatre at that point.
Then drama. Colin Munro is charging in. Ratan got a double of the first ball, followed by a bye run. Raj took a single in the third ball. I think Ratan was beaten off the fourth ball. Then the twist that there was no one saw coming. There was a no ball as the Kiwis forgot to put a fourth fielder inside the 30-yard circle. They were clearly rattled at this point. Now they needed just 4 from 3 balls.
Yeah, these are the kind of schoolboy error you wouldn't expect in the final over. But fair play to them, they were still young players, teenagers, and probably still finding their feet in international cricket. So with 4 of 3 needed, Ratan, cool as ice, flicks it behind square, past the fielder, boundary, and they win. Absolute scenes. The bench, they run to the ground, the coach is crying, the boys hugging, a full member nation beaten by a bunch of teenagers from Nepal.
And that's straight up history. Nepal, the plate world champions. It is absolutely astonishing when something like this happens. It gives a country hope, especially a small country like Nepal, like who don't generally, are tagged or, pegged to beat full-playing nations who have a whole structure in place. These guys don't have a structure, are trying to form a structure, and when you're trying to pull off wins like this, they are dimension-shifting kind of wins in their cricket. And, it's so heartwarming to listen to these kind of stories, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Robin, so when you were playing under-19 cricket, various age group cricket, did you guys follow what was happening in the associate results, associate teams?
Not necessarily, man. Not very closely. We were just obsessed with our own preparations. We are obsessed with our own futures and, how we want to do well here and, hopefully move up the ranks and represent our country at the senior level. That was predominantly what we were thinking about. We weren't really thinking about, what's happening at the associate level stage. But magic kind of happens everywhere, doesn't it?
If you were in the Nepal dugout and with Ratan walking in at number 10, a tail ender with so much runs to go, would you have any advice to in such a situation, or you would have just probably given up hope?
One single piece of advice: watch the ball and give your partner the strike. That's it.
Today, when people sort of think about Nepal cricket, they remember Sandeep Lamichhane's stint in the IPL or the Big Bash League, their recent World Cup appearances, the Nepal Premier League, obviously a franchisee-based league that is now getting a lot of attention, which is fair enough. This is what is there in the regular public memory. But Back in 2006, this was a squad fully homegrown, no global exposure, and just raw belief.
And they didn't just beat one full member nation, they actually beat two in the same week. And it's honestly it's actually sad, right? How little we talk about this. This should be in every highlight reel ever for association countries. So the next time someone says Nepal, do they even play cricket? You know what to say.
Tell them about the time they beat South Africa and New Zealand at a World Cup with a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah, and one unforgettable partnership between Basant and Ratan.
This has been another forgotten treasure at Chronicles of Cricket.
Catch you guys next time.